New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, we should tell you, says he's spoken with Amazon officials, including Jeff Bezos, but hasn't heard anything yet to indicate that they might be changing their decision to abandon that New York headquarters. The New York Times says Cuomo personally pitched CEO Jeff Bezos on coming back to the city, offering to guide Amazon through the government red tape. And today's paper, we have it right here, features an ad that's an open letter calling for Amazon to reconsider pulling out of it. It is signed by dozens of government, labor, and business leaders, including the CEOs of Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and MasterCard, and so many union leaders as well. Our next guest oversaw the deal to bring Amazon to New York City. Alicia Glenn is here, whose last day as New York City Deputy Mayor is today. So she can speak even more openly than ever before. So just help us understand this. Well, let's start here. Do you think there really is a meaningful chance to bring Amazon back to Long Island City?
I think the situation is fluid. I think the bottom line is that the fundamental reasons why Amazon wanted to be here remain the same, right? It's a spectacular opportunity to build a world-class headquarters on a fantastic neighborhood. And basically the reason why they wanted to be here was for the diversity of talent and the diversity of other business opportunities. Nothing has changed with regard to that, right? The fundamentals remain the same.
But just bring us behind the scenes to the extent you can. Are there real talks, meaningful talks, do you think, taking place?
I think everything that has been reported in the paper is true. I believe that the governor's had some conversations. But from New York City's perspective, again, we are not at the table renegotiating the transaction. The same commitments that we made to the people and to the company remain. We're going to invest in infrastructure. We're going to invest in workforce training. And that is still the basics of the deal.
When they decided not to come, everything was still the same, too. But there were all those other things that, in fact, the pushback that also are still the same. They're not welcome. There's a lot of people that, I mean, after trying so hard to bring them in, and then they have so much pushback from certain sectors, it's like, okay, really, you don't want us to?
Yeah, but in fairness, actually, as you know, the vast majority of New Yorkers actually were in favor of the deal. And that hasn't changed either.
Let me tell you about one constituent, though, who did change his mind, and that is your boss up until tomorrow, which is to say that that the mayor was a huge proponent of bringing Amazon here.
Correct.
I thought that he did this in good faith.
And he did.
It was a shock, I think, to many people in the business community, both in New York and around the country, to see the mayor go from a proponent of this transaction and a fan of Amazon's, if you will, to say, hey, Amazon, don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Well, I think that's a mischaracterization of the position. The mayor has always been in favor of bringing Amazon here because of the basic fact that we need to continue to grow New York City's economy. That said, it's not at any cost. What really matters here is that the same deal remains on the table. And what we really need to be thinking about is not that whether or not Amazon decides to come back or doesn't, is not a referendum on doing business in New York City. While all of this has been going on, large companies like Google and Spotify and Salesforce and other big innovation and technology companies have been doubling down on New York City. And that's what we need to focus on.
Tell me why, if I'm a business leader, I would ever want to negotiate with this mayor ever again. If the mayor said to me, and I'm running a big company, come to New York, I will help you. And I watched this whole situation play out, and I watched this sort of complete, it felt like 180 to a progressive stand where he seemed to almost take a political view
Andrew,
of this.
I really disagree with that. It has not been a 180. The fact of the matter is the mayor has continued to say that we would like Amazon to come here under the original terms of engagement, which is making investments in the community, hiring New Yorkers, and providing great tech jobs. But I think you're overstating what this alleged 180 is. Our position has remained the same and will continue to remain the same if the company decides to come back and take another look. What we really should be doing is thinking about how are we continuing to grow our companies and make actually better leaders. Maybe if there weren't all men running these companies, we would have possibly different results, right? Today's the beginning of Women's History Month, and what I'd like to see is a generation of companies that are started and grown by women, and maybe we would be having a different conversation in 5 years, quite frankly.
So the decision might have been different if there was a leader of Amazon who was a female?
Well, I think that if there were more women running large companies, there would be a different way in which people engage with communities. There'd be a different way in which people started to threaten to leave, et cetera. I mean, my daughter said, "Oh, I don't think it's sexist at all."
I know. I feel bad about being a man. I can't engage with.
I'm sorry. I don't think that's true. I think that what I mean to say is the way in which companies engage with communities, how we build
Men
great
might be able
companies
to
in
do
great
that too,
city.
right?
They can.
Some men.
I know, but you know what? There's 55 Fortune 500 companies
No,
in
I
New
know.
York City,
No,
and only
I
one is
hear you
run
on
by a
that,
woman.
Can I come back, Alicia, to one
Yes.
of the criticisms, which is, given that individual states and cities are able to make one-off promises with a tax cut and a tax break, should that be changed? Because in doing that, you would only ever make that promise to the biggest company, the one that would bring the most jobs.
Well, that's actually not.
And one of the criticisms, therefore, is why does Amazon get that offer in the first
Okay,
place?
but
not a
that is
smaller
where the
company down the road?
mischaracterization and misinformation about the basic deal continues to be in the ether. The incentives that Amazon were being given to them as of right. Any other company, whether it was a 5-person company or a 50,000-person company, would have gotten the same benefits from the city of New York. That is complete misinformation, and that continues to be one of the challenges about how we talk about this deal. Whether or not cities and
$500 million
states,
capital grant?
that was from the state. The cities.
That's separate.
That is a separate decision that was made by the state.
Let's accept that that was an idiosyncratic, true incentive for Amazon.
Correct. That was a bespoke incentive for Amazon. But with respect to New York City's policy, any company that chose to locate in Long Island City would be able to avail themselves of those incentives. Now, is that a topic of discussion? I think that's a legitimate topic of discussion, and those will change and evolve.
We need to thank you, Alicia Glennon. I also want to thank you for your service to the great city of New York.
Thank you.
So thank you very, very much, and come on back.
Okay, thanks very much.